There you go. Well, yesterday, electoral rolls closed at 8 p.m. with a record 214,000 enrolment applications on the final day alone, I'm told. According to the AEC, that means up to 96% of eligible Australians will be on the roll to vote at the election, either on the day itself, May 21, or through a number of options before then. To say a federal election in operational terms is a massive logistical exercise, well, that's an understatement. Australia's land mass, our dispersed population, and the fact that we've got a compulsory voting system means there's a huge amount of work on the desk of my next guest. Joining me from Canberra to explain just what's involved is the man in charge of running our forthcoming federal election, the head of the Australian Electoral Commission, Mr. Tom Rogers. Tom, thank you for your time. You're the ultimate, put the Court of Disputed Returns to one side. You're the ultimate umpire. Everyone's interested in your role in coming days and weeks. Record enrolments yesterday, all up. How many Australians are now enrolled to vote in the election? And how are you going to make it to all run smoothly between now when you cast the last vote? I'm told you're going to hire a lot of people.
Good evening, Peter, and thank you for having me on. And yes, yesterday was a record-breaking day. I think we've been quoted as saying it was a modern democratic miracle. We also had more of our own staff over the weekend. We had about 1,000 people processing those transactions over the weekend so that we could get through that huge number very successfully. It means that since the last election, we've put over 1.1 million Australians on the electoral roll. It'll be well over 96% complete, probably approaching 97%. And I think that's a result that all Australians can be very proud of. You are right. I think the election is probably the single most complex logistic event in the life of Australia, in fact, in the life of any democracy. We've been planning for it for quite some time. We sometimes joke that it's 4 years preparation jammed into 3, but we think we're about as ready as we can be. And we are hiring over 105,000 staff. It's our biggest workforce ever, and that in itself is a very complex thing.
Well, we know in recent years we've seen a big spike or growth in pre-poll voting numbers, but I assume with COVID, postal votes will be high as well. Give us a sense of what you're planning for and how people go about accessing either of those options if that's their preference.
Peter, it's a great question, and let me be a killjoy up front by saying that it's not just a blanket, I want a postal vote. You actually have to qualify, and there are various criteria which you'd understand you can't get to a polling place on polling day, etc. So it's not just a blanket process. But we are expecting a big increase. I checked the number just before I came here. It seems to be significantly larger than the last event. I think if we added pre-poll and postal together for the last event, mostly pre-poll, about 40% of Australians voted before the day. So we're expecting, again, people to access pre-poll and postal. However, our polling places are safe. We're putting in place all sorts of COVID measures, and my expectation is that most people will vote on the day the way they always have. But if you've got any questions about that, please jump on our website. The best way to apply for a postal vote if you qualify is please go to our website and apply there.
Right, talk to me about the night itself. Do we think we'll get a result on the night, given this growth in pre-polls and postals? How quickly do you go and count them?
Peter, as you know, the eyes of the nation are on the AEC on that night, and our aim is to get through that as quickly as we possibly can. The simple fact is that the more votes there are in envelopes, the longer that takes us to get the result. And I know you know this, but for postal votes in particular, we have to wait by law for 13 days after polling day for the last postal votes to come back. So on those very close seats, it might take slightly longer than we would normally be used to if there's a big uptick in postal votes. Now, of course, if it's a close event, that means that there will be a period of uncertainty, but we are trying our very best. We will count on the night every vote that we logistically and lawfully can.
All right, well, it's a big few weeks ahead for the country, but not least for the AEC. Thank you for your time, Commissioner. Commissioner Tom Rogers there.